Now, I mentioned the global warming frenzy that's been swirling around this election. The most incredible claims, and I mean literally the word incredible, not credible, are being made, with almost no journalist or politician contradicting them. They're either, caught up in this madness, or they don't have the guts to stand against it. And so, Bill Shorten today could say this and get away with it.
The reef is still there, but if we have 3 more years of this current crew, we will have damage to the environment that we cannot fix up in the future.
I cannot tell you how ludicrous that is. What Shorten is suggesting there is that if we vote Labor, Labor will save the Great Barrier Reef from being destroyed by global warming. And there are actually kids now that believe this nonsense, even though, as any scientist will tell you, the reef cannot be destroyed by global warming caused by Australia. No Labor policy can cut the world's temperature and, quote, save the reef from warming. As the chief scientist himself admits, Australia's too small to make a difference to the climate. As for the reef, ask a scientist like Peter Ridd, the reef is not in danger of being destroyed. And in fact, when you hear this nonsense, you wonder, why doesn't Shorten just go the whole hog and say, vote Labor and there will never be another cyclone. There will never be another drought. Because that's what it amounts to. But absolutely convinced that the world is facing doom. People drunk on this thought. You see Greenpeace activists today dangle themselves under the Sydney Harbour Bridge to demand a 100% cut to our emissions, demand that we close all the coal-fired power stations that give us 2/3 of this country's electricity, and the cheapest 2/3. The Prime Minister wasn't impressed.
I mean, for those commuters in Sydney this morning just trying to get across the Harbour Bridge and go to work, earn a living, pay their taxes, save for their first home, let's show a bit of consideration to others. We can all be passionate about the things we're passionate about. I can tell you I'm passionate about a lot of things. But I don't want to stop traffic on the Harbour Bridge because that would be inconsiderate to my fellow Australians.
I spoke a short while ago to Sky News reporter Carolyn Marcus, who was at the protest. Carolyn Marcus, thank you so much for joining me. What happened today?
Well, at about 5:15 a.m. this morning, Andrew, 15 protesters gathered on the pedestrian walkway of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. They were approached by security. Some of the group blockaded the security so that 6 of the members of this Greenpeace group could get past, scale over the top of a fence and abseil down the Harbour Bridge, where 3 of the members unfurled signs saying 100% renewables and make coal history. So this was all a big anti-coal protest, climate change protest that managed to cause minor disruptions only. There weren't any major disruptions to traffic, thankfully, or to trains or ferries, but one southbound lane of the bridge had to be closed. Of course, this was a big illegal activity. You're not allowed to climb the bridge in this way or trespass. And eventually the whole group was arrested and charged with a range of offences, including climbing the bridge and risking public safety.
So this is at peak hour, 1 lane closed. So I'm presuming that motorists were inconvenienced. Well,
the lane was only closed for a very short amount of time, so there was no major inconveniences to motorists. Thankfully, it was a 4-hour protest during peak hours. You said it stopped at 9:30 a.m. when the last of the protesters had abseiled down onto police boats. But it is amazing that there wasn't more of a disruption.
And it took how many police would you estimate to end this protest? How much police time and effort was wasted?
It was a huge amount of police resources. Police aren't saying exactly how much they spent on this operation, but it did involve Polair, the police chopper. It involved the Marine Command. It involved the bomb and rescue disposal, bomb disposal unit. It involved police negotiators to try and talk down the abseilers. So it was a massive police response to this. It's difficult to say what sort of penalty these people might face, but they are going to face court next month, and from my research, it's a $22,000 maximum fine that they're facing and up to 2 years in prison. So it's very serious the way that police are treating this and the way that they could be dealt with by the courts.
Did any of them explain why they couldn't simply stand in a park, inconveniencing nobody, requiring no police action, no waste of resources? They couldn't just hold their signs, you know, by a street side or in a park or, you know, somewhere where they weren't going to be a bother to anyone?
Well, the Greenpeace CEO did speak about why he was asked repeatedly why this illegal protest had to happen, whether he condones this sort of illegal activity, because these were supporters of Greenpeace. And he said, well, brave people throughout history have taken brave acts in order to bring attention to certain causes, which is what's happened here. I suppose we wouldn't be talking about it in the same way had they stood in a park and not done something as outrageous as this. But on the other hand, he also said that these people were trained, that they had taken all safety precautions, but still you've got to say that they massively put the public safety at risk, not to mention their own safety.
Well, I don't really care about their safety. If they want to dangle from somewhere dangerous, it's entirely up to them. I care about whether they feel that inconveniencing people is the way to get best publicity. I just wonder too, 100% renewable energy, that's crazy stuff. It's more than the Labor Party is even promising. 50% is what they're promising by 2030. And that's bad enough. That's impossible enough. What do you make of the Labor Party's reaction to this?
Well, the Labor Party's reaction was mixed. First of all, Bill Shorten said he didn't condone this sort of illegal activity, and if people wanted to have their protest, they should protest at this Saturday's elections. But then we had Labor Senator Christina Keneally, who's really been the attack dog during this election campaign, come out and say today on Sky News that while she doesn't agree with the methods of these protesters, she did sympathise with them. She said she understood their frustrations, because they're frustrations that all Australians share. Now, I'm not sure that most Australians would share the frustration to the level that they'd be willing to hang off the Harbour Bridge to call for 100% renewable energy and to end coal. But that's what Christina Keneally had to say today. So it was a bit of a mixed response from Labor.
Well, Christina Keneally is talking rubbish if she thinks these people represent the frustrations of all Australians. Certainly don't represent mine. And I suspect that Bill Shorten better watch out for Christina Keneally in the future. She is the more radical option for the left for the future, I suspect. Thank you very much, Carolyn Marcus, for bringing us up to date on this one.
Pleasure, Andrew.